90-10 theory. Welcome back to another episode of Midlife Playbook. As always, I'm Matt, here with Naeem.
And I'm here.
Let's get this party started, even
do
though
it.
these are already open. We
Yep.
cheated a little bit. Fun fact for you. No number before 1,000 contains an A. I'll give you everybody a few seconds to try to think of one.
See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah.
Nothing in the hundreds has an A in it.
Huh.
Get to 1,000 and it's got an A in it.
That's something else.
That's something.
Well, ain't that some shit? All right.
What do you got there? You looking at something?
I was looking at something. It's called allodoxophobia. Allodoxophobia is probably how you pronounce it.
Fear of ducks? What is that?
It's the fear of other people's opinions.
What?
I know a lot of people with allodoxophobia.
That's a real thing?
That's a real thing.
Fear of other people's opinions has a name.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's something else.
Allodoxophobia?
Allodoxophobia.
Oh, we know a lot of people with that.
Then we should have brought that up on the last episode about the let them.
So, yeah, but we did talk about if you care what other people think about you, remember?
Mm-hmm.
We did talk about, but you're right. We should have let them episode.
Yeah, we can dig into it a little bit. So what's this thing? You were telling me about this theory.
This 90-10 theory.
On. Okay.
And I can't remember for the life of me where I saw this because it's been probably a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But the premise is you're in a relationship, you're married, and your wife completely forgets about the 90% of you that she's in love with, adores, and you do everything correctly, but focuses on the 10% where you're a complete screw up.
I love this.
Right?
I absolutely love this.
So it's like, what?
I know. I want you to keep building this house.
Well, speaking of building this house, the garage now has a bathroom, a hot tub in it. The hot tub's in the bathroom now since
you pretty much put the inside of the house.
It has to be as much as I get, me in trouble and you because you're guilty by association. We just live in the garage now.
Yeah.
So anyway, 90-10 rule, right? So how frustrating can it be? Whoa, what are you about to do?
Don't worry about it. Just keep talking about your 90-10 rule.
It's not my rule.
Only people on YouTube can see this.
My
so
rule.
Don't let the cat out of the bag.
Anyway, the 90-10 rule. And can that can be
you want to call my mom too?
Well, you know what? I will. Super frustrating to deal with that you do all these things for your wife, your kids, the house, and then she gets mad at you because you forgot to take the trash out. Right? And it's like in that moment, you're just like, what?
So before I go in,
yeah,
because you know I will.
I know you will. Well, I brought this up.
Go in. Are you speaking from experience or is this a hypothetical?
Oh, careful now. No, this is hypothetical now.
Thank you for that's exactly what I wanted you to say.
Hypothetical.
All right, these are hypotheticals.
I want to sleep in my own bed tonight. Hypothetical.
She's a nag.
Oh boy.
And I wanted to put another word after the word nag.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided not to.
Yeah.
It rhymes with stitch.
I wonder what that is. I'm not good with language. Yeah, is that really what it is though? Or is it just you do so much good that for whatever reason she wants to focus on the 10% of you that isn't great?
It's kind of a complicated thing if you think about it, because they're so used to you having this bar that you set with them that's so high.
Yeah.
And then you come in under it just a little bit one time, and they're just like, it's like, and if they were having a bad day, that was just the icing on the cake, my man. And you did it.
So setting the bar goes into the other thing I wanted to talk about was expectations too.
Mm-hmm.
So expectations, the 90-10 rule, and with expectations, it's more of, did you set the bar too high for yourself to maintain through a 15, 20 year marriage? right?
That's the whole.
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
Well, yeah, and then when you slip below it and you start to get in trouble because she's focusing on the 10% of you that maybe isn't great, because nobody's perfect.
Right.
I mean,
though, I'm gonna go back to my whole theory that that person's just having a bad day. Because if that's your person, right?
Right.
You guys make each other happy.
Right.
You're best friends.
Right.
And just one little thing you screwed up on really is the hair in their ass.
Yeah.
Then they're just having a bad day. And you gotta just let them.
Yeah.
Let them.
I'm at a point.
It comes in.
I'm at a point in my life, man.
I'm at a point in my life. I'm writing that book.
You write that book. I'm waiting.
I'm at a point in my life.
I'll draw the pictures for you. So then that leads into the other thing I kind of wanted to touch on was, expectations, and not so much ones that you have said, but unspoken ones that maybe your wife has for you that you don't know. Not your wife, because this is completely hypothetical. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Example. Let's say your wife is normally the person that takes care of cooking dinner for the family every evening. That's kind of what she does for whatever reason.
So that expectation is set.
That expectation is set that my wife is going to cook the family dinner. I'm going to come home from work. She's going to be cooking dinner. And we're going to go on with our lives. Maybe the wife has a hair appointment or she's going out for drinks with the friends and she's not home, right? She's doing her thing, whatever. She comes home 3 or 4 hours later. Maybe it's 9:00 and you haven't done anything.
So the kids haven't eaten.
Nobody
haven't eaten.
House isn't cleaned, straightened up, whatever has to happen. I haven't eaten. Kids haven't eaten. She walks in the door, and that's where you're at.
Again, is this hypothetical?
Yes, absolutely hypothetical.
Okay, that guy's a loser.
Well,
I'm just putting it out there.
So yes, I agree, but that expectation was never communicated, though. So maybe this guy has been used to her doing this forever. It's like the same expectation. Should I have known that you needed me to take care of stuff? Yes.
Did you know that she was coming home 3 hours late, or have you just been sitting there waiting and wondering?
No, I think you knew. I think she told you.
You knew.
Yeah, I think you knew.
Yeah, it's time to grow up. Big dog. Not you, not you, but if anybody out there is listening to this, that you're in that situation, which I totally think a lot of guys fall in, because we've had some female listeners come to us and say this almost exact scenario.
That's kind of why I kind of wanted to touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, you need to grow up.
Right.
And you need to get your shit together, because are you hungry? Go eat.
So
are your kids hungry?
Right.
Feed them.
Here's another step to this. So let's say you do make dinner. You do realize you're doing the right thing. Okay, I got to make dinner for me and the kids. And I'm going to make dinner for my wife. And you make her something she doesn't like because you don't know, or you don't pay attention enough because she's always doing it. Right. So now where are you? This is a 90-10.
Hopefully she would just say, you know what? I really appreciate the fact that you went to the lengths of cooking dinner and making sure I had something to eat.
Oh, sorry about that. That's I don't know what happened.
Like, you know what? This wasn't my, maybe you don't even bring it up that night.
Right.
Maybe you bring it up a couple days later, like, hey, you know that food you made the other day? Why don't we try to do this instead or something?
Yeah.
But don't be ungrateful, you know?
Yeah. Or if you let's say you're stopping on the way, like you're stopping on the way home after work to get dinner, pick it up for everybody. And you haven't communicated to your wife that you're doing this, or you maybe just told her that you're getting dinner, and she doesn't tell you what she wants. But do men really in general pay attention enough to know what their wife is going to want?
They should,
but do they?
I kind of feel like I'm not like your normal guy.
Well, no, I think you are. I think we are. I think there are outliers, though, that struggle with paying attention and picking up on cues.
There are.
And that's kind of where I'm going with this.
Okay, gotcha.
That's kind of where I'm going with this.
And the only reason I say that I'm kind of not normal is because I'm a different person than I was in my first marriage.
Yeah, me too.
My wife now has expectations that are through the roof, and I like it like that.
Right.
I want her to have the absolute best version of me no matter what. And if something happens where it gets out of line, we talk about it.
Right.
It's not I'm not ruining her day. We're not having a pissing match, but I want to be her freaking rock star. You know
So
what I mean?
if she did not have those expectations, how different does it look?
Well, I'd have my own
Right,
expectations.
you still would have your own, but
Yeah.
it looks totally different.
It would because but bear in mind too, I was raised in a family where we even had a thing, like a poster on the wall that said, "If it's on the floor, pick it up. If it's dirty, wash it.
Right.
If it's in the sink, put it in the dishwasher. If it
I
needs to
love
be
that.
vacuumed, vacuum it."
Right.
Like, we had the expectation you
That's where it
get
started.
shit done.
That's where it started.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, if I'm hungry, the family's hungry, I'm gonna feed them.
Yeah, I will too. So I do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that some men struggle with this for whatever reason. They don't pick up on cues very well,
Mhm.
or they don't retain, like, oh, my wife really likes that from this certain restaurant, or
Why
likes this and
don't
that.
they? Okay,
I
we're
so I
about to
don't
unpack
know.
some stuff
Yeah.
here. Why don't they pick up on these cues? Do they not want to? Is it that caveman mentality? Like, oh, I make money, I come home, like you feed me. Is it that? Like, cause those days are over.
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, those days are over. But why? Like, don't you want to show up? I know you do.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like for just in general for guys who don't. You don't wanna show up for your
So
wife?
I
Or your
think
family?
it's taking it for granted that your wife is always going to be there and not realizing that she won't be if you don't do things, right? I just
Damn
think it's
right.
taken for granted that you
What
can do
is
no wrong.
going on with
Hey,
you and that phone?
don't worry about my phone. I thought it had it on silent. I don't know what's under. I don't know what's happening.
Alright.
Yeah, whatever. So I don't know why the men don't pick up on those cues, but I'm here to say that if you're a man, you need to kind of understand yourself if you do pick up on those cues or not, because it's going to ruin your marriage eventually.
Yep.
It's going to ruin your relationship.
And even if it doesn't lead to a divorce, you know what it is gonna lead to? Unhappiness.
Correct.
Like,
And
you're gonna
just
come home, she's going to
just
resent
bitterness, resentment, bitterness.
you. Yeah.
It's going to start driving a wedge right in between you two.
Could you imagine coming home from a long day of work and your wife's already there, and when you walk through the door, she doesn't even wanna see you?
Right.
Could you imagine that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I
that's
can't.
that's not a place I ever wanna be.
So I think as men, if you're questioning right now, listening to this, if you're questioning it, you need to have that conversation.
Yeah. Open communication.
Open
That's all I'm
communication,
saying.
and then you need to get a better understanding quickly, because she won't say anything the first time, the second time, the 50th time,
Mhm.
but one day it's going to happen because you didn't know she liked chicken quesadillas.
I'm gonna throw your
You're not
fucking
throwing my phone
phone
anywhere.
in the toilet.
That's the Maker's Mark talking right there. I don't know. I put it over there so you can't hear it.
I can hear
You
it,
can't hear
and
it.
so can everyone else.
Nobody else. It's not going to come through.
I hope our software can edit that out.
It is. If you can't hear us cracking the beer can, you're not going to hear that.
Yeah, we'll see. When this bad boy posts, we'll see.
No,
I hear that in my damn sleep tonight.
nobody can
Anyway,
hear it.
but I mean, getting back to it though, really, because when a woman is done, she's done.
Yeah, and expectations can kill. Unspoken, uncommunicated expectations are a problem.
Yeah.
On the other side of this, though, and this is where some men might get in trouble, I think women also expect their husbands to know certain things without communicating it.
No, we're supposed to be mind readers.
Right.
Hypothetically.
That's a real thing. That's the 90-10 rule, right?
Yeah.
That goes back to the 90-10 theory that we started with. But your wife is going to expect you to know that she likes the chicken quesadilla and not the steak quesadilla or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Without telling you, because you went to a restaurant 5 years ago and that's what she ordered
Mhm.
instead of the steak.
You know what's messed up though is they remember that shit.
They do
man.
remember. They won't remember what they watched on TV last night, but they'll remember what you said 5 years ago.
Yeah. And sometimes that's a good
Right.
thing. Sometimes
That's
it's
never
not.
a good
I'm
thing.
trying to keep
It's
us
not.
out of the
It's-
garage.
We're already in there. It's fine.
But oh man.
So it's the 90-10,
Mm-hmm.
the 10%, and it's tied to unspoken expectations that the wife is assuming you should know things. You should know when to do certain things. And I think most men do.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are certainly a percentage of us that do not get it for whatever reason.
So I think so far in our conversation,
Nope, it's not happening. You know what? I don't know what's happening.
Is it an emergency? Is it a family emergency or something?
It is not an emergency.
Okay, I just wondered if it was. I want you to
It's
take the call.
The problem is my phone is on silent, but my wife is the emergency bypass, so hers comes through.
Oh my goodness.
She's in a group text with a contract. Don't worry about it. It's a thing.
All right. So, you want me to hit pause?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We don't pause this show.
That's true.
It's all live,
you're getting it all.
You're getting it raw.
You're getting our little in-show argument.
Everything. That's what makes it good. There's no pausing.
But up until this point, I think we've been very pro-wife in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to address on the other side of that, because I know a lot of guys out there that might be this resonating with them a little bit.
Right.
They might be saying, well, what about she doesn't tell me what she wants?
Right.
She doesn't communicate that to me, which is...
We were getting there.
Okay.
That's where we're getting to.
All right. Well, I'll let you drive the ship.
Well, yeah. So exactly what you were saying. So the other side of this coin is if this show gets cut off,
I really hope
I have
everyone...
a black eye. Naeem did it because of my phone.
Oh God! All right, I'm not going to say anything else about this one.
I think you're going to.
I'm going to let it.
Oh. Are you at a point in this episode?
I'm at a point in this episode. ...
So how do you deal with the unspoken expectation? So I think the first time you have to pay attention to this, the first time you make a mistake, quote unquote, because you did something your wife was expecting you to do something else, I think you got to address it head on. I think women will do that. I think a lot of women will assume that we know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't, for whatever reason, right? Doesn't really matter, but I think that's when you got to address it right then and there.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute, I didn't know thought you liked the steak quesadilla. You'd rather have the chicken.
And do you know how much your wife would appreciate that if you said that?
Correct. Right. But I don't think men realize that. I think it's glossed over because she's not going to say anything the first time. She's not going to say anything the 10th time. It may take 100 mistakes of you doing the exact same thing wrong before she says anything.
Could be.
Which isn't necessarily good or bad.
I'd probably say it's bad.
Maybe, but to her,
100 times, I mean, that's bad.
The first few times, maybe it wasn't a big deal to her.
Yeah.
And maybe it's so far apart that she doesn't realize until she realizes.
Yeah.
So I guess what I would say is, man, you really got to pay attention to the cues because they're going to give them to you.
Yeah. And I think the overarching thing that we could look at in this whole situation is, if you look at the breakdown in any relationship, it can almost always be traced back to lack of communication.
For sure.
I mean, I'm talking business. I'm talking personal.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything. I'm just going to keep going. So communication is the biggest thing, man. And you know what? I know I've been talking about Mel Robbins a lot.
Yeah.
Just look her up, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was good.
Anybody out there.
That episode you sent me was really good. It was 20, 30 minutes. I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was a really good episode.
Very good episode. And she talks about a lot of it. And what I like about her is, number one, she cusses.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. She's just real.
Yeah.
There's no bones about it. If she ever has on a guest, it's a complete, educated, intelligent professional.
Yeah.
And they give you the goods without all the fluff.
Right.
And this last episode, when we drove down to Nashville, we listened to one of her podcasts. It was an hour and 20 long. So it was a little bit longer than normal.
Right.
But it was all about communication, about sex.
Oh, that is a whole other episode.
Man, is that a whole other episode. And I'm going to tell you what.
Well, part of it could be this episode. So the expectation of sex, right?
Yeah. How about talk about it? But we don't. And so the premise of this podcast, oh man, it was so good. And just us listening to it for that one little hour and a half, the 3 days since we've listened to it, completely changed the game. Totally changed the game. And it wasn't a podcast about, okay, now you got to get this toy, you got to get this toy, you got to do this. It wasn't that. It was about communicating around sex. And, instead of what we've seen in movies throughout our lives.
What kind of movies?
And just regular movies.
Just regular movies?
Yeah. How the guy's supposed to pick up the girl.
Grey's Anatomy. 50 Shades of Grey.
No.
No? Oh,
yes.
Sorry.
Well, no. Actually, I think you're right. Because we've seen that, and we see that, in all these songs, people are talking about, oh yeah, we did it all night. We went into the morning. Like all that. None of that's true.
No.
And, the fact of the matter is, one of the little fun facts in there was your typical intercourse session lasts 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's if hopefully you're doing it right, and that's all you need.
Right.
But the bottom line is everything else we do in life, we communicate about. We talk about are you going to pick up the kids today or am I going to pick up the kids? We communicate about that.
Right.
Are you cooking dinner? Am I cooking dinner?
Right.
What time are you going to work? What time are you going to be home? We communicate about everything. But then when it comes to sex,
it's hush hush.
Hush hush. We just do what we've seen in movies or what we were taught in school about, and that's all just biology.
Yeah.
But we don't talk about it.
Oh boy.
Like I'm going to give you one little tidbit right here. Try this. I want every guy to try this. It sounds so corny, but I'm telling you, it changed it.
Okay.
So instead of, let me ask you this question. This is how I'm going to approach this. Oh boy. How would you, let's say it's Friday night, and you want to get a little freaky,
right?
But there's been nothing leading up to it or anything, but you want to get your wife in the mood.
Okay.
What do you do?
So,
and be real. We're not lighting candles. We're not doing all that bullshit.
What's the setting? Are we home? Did we go out?
Yeah, you went out. Probably had a couple beers.
So, we've been out drinking, had a couple beers, whatever. When we get home, I think stuff just starts happening.
Okay. So like
just
Tuesday night
stuff. So
it's Tuesday night. No beers, no nothing.
No beers, no night. Normal, kind of just kids, work, the whole 9 yards. I'm asking, using my words.
Are you?
Yes.
Look at that.
Using my big boy words.
I'm proud of you.
Just asking. Right?
That's
because I think as adults of our age, with the lives we lead, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, those are our stress days, right? Monday through Thursday. I just think you're asking at that point.
Okay, I'm gonna get real personal with you, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
I'm already in the garage,
but I want to know, how do you ask? You're like, yo, let me get them draws.
I cannot give out our code.
Okay, all right, fine.
We use a certain phrasing.
Word?
We use a certain phrasing.
Is it Rumpelstiltskin?
It is not Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, I thought it was
it's nothing cool. It's nothing cool, but we do it so kids don't necessarily understand. Right. I'm not
fold the laundry.
It's not.
So okay, the reason
the point is the question is asked.
Well, that's fantastic, and that's pretty much the premises about a lot of the communication that they were talking about. They talked about a ton of things, but this one thing, like instead of just rolling over in bed and just like rubbing your wife and trying to get her, she may not be a person who's physically stimulated. She may be emotionally stimulated before
most of them are.
That physical stimulation starts.
Right.
So you've got to do it to her mind before you do it to her body.
Yeah,
so
and I've heard that.
Things. And then they said, instead of just saying, hey, can we, do it tonight?
Yeah.
If you really want to get her buy-in, use this exact phrase. Are you open to being intimate with me this evening? It sounds so corny. I'm telling you, man, it sounds awful. And when I heard it, I was like,
are you open to being intimate with me?
Are you open to being intimate with me this evening?
Oh boy.
So I laughed and thought it was the corniest thing ever. Then I looked over at my wife and I was like, that was the dumbest shit ever. She was like, I kind of like it. She's like, because you're completely putting the ball in my court, and you're asking me if this is something that I'd be into. So it gives her that opportunity to either say, maybe not tonight, really tired.
Right.
Or, it gives her the opportunity to say, that sounds like an awesome idea. You know what I mean?
Oh, goodness. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah.
Just listen to the podcast. And when you listen to it, to it with Jamie.
Okay.
Okay? Listen to it together. It's great. It's great. And the last little tidbit I'll give you, they said, stop having sex late at night. Nobody wants to have sex late at night.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but
I think so.
But my wife, she's not a fan. She's at the end of the day, it's the end of the day. She's tired.
Yeah.
Just
so that leads
try
to
doing it earlier.
That leads to the time of day question, because you're right. Because even the later it goes into the night, the harder it's.
Yeah, and you're tired. I mean, some
you got to get up the next morning. It's a whole thing.
It becomes a chore.
Yeah,
when you want to wait that late at night. Yeah, you want it to be fun, and then you knock that out, and then the rest of the day just breezes on by.
Right.
You knock
that's what I've always heard. Mornings, like, supposedly one of the best times.
Yeah,
like wake up before work or whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's like a good start to your day.
A little wake and shake.
A little wake and yank. What?
No.
What?
Shake.
Oh, shake. Sorry, I said that wrong.
Golly.
Oh, I think we dug a deep enough hole in this one.
I actually think we gave a lot of good.
We did. A
lot of good advice.
Communication about expectations.
Yeah. And if people, I think people are going to want to chime in on this. Absolutely. What's our email address?
It's midlifeplaybook.podcast@gmail.com.
Hit us up.
Let us know. This is definitely something we could take some input in.
Yeah. Are we way off base, or
I don't think we're way off base.
I want to hear from the ladies too. Like, what do they think?
And on YouTube, leave us a comment on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like it. Subscribe to our channel. Keep this going.
Share it.
All those things. Tell all your friends.
Yep.
And then the ladies out there, let us know how far off base we are.
I think we're good. All right, guys. We'll see you.
Thanks.